At Thanksgiving dinner, my sister suddenly stood up and declared, "We took a vote, and you're no longer part of this family." Everyone erupted in cheers. I let out a quiet laugh and said, "Well then, I guess you won't be needing this." I reached into my bag and placed a folder right in the middle of the table. The second she flipped it open, her entire face twisted, and she let out a scream. Just before we could even cut into the turkey, Emily got to her feet, wearing that smug little smile she'd clearly rehearsed. "There's something we need to say," she announced. The room went still. Forks froze halfway to mouths. My stomach dropped. I recognized that voice. It was the same sickly sweet tone she'd used to get me grounded when I was 14 for a party I didn't even attend. "We had a family vote," she went on. She glanced around the table like she was on stage at a beauty pageant, waiting for a crown to be placed on her head. "And we've decided," she said with a dramatic pause, "you're no longer family." Dead silence. Then applause. Actual cheering. My cousin Grace clapped like she was front row at a concert. Uncle Ryan lifted his wine glass and toasted like we just shared good news. Even my mother, my own mother, laughed and said, "Well, someone had to say it." I sat there in disbelief, staring down at my plate. The stuffing was cold now, but my blood was boiling. My dad didn't even acknowledge me, just took a swig of his beer and muttered, "It's probably for the best." "Wow," I said, easing my chair back from the table. "You all really rehearsed this, huh?" Emily's grin widened. "You've been toxic for years," she shot back. "We're just done pretending," my mother chimed in, reaching for the cranberry sauce like we were chatting about the weather. It was unanimous. I looked around the table. Not a single voice rose to defend me. No one even flinched. "Good," I said softly. Then I reached into my bag. "I had a feeling something like this might happen," I added, pulling out a thick folder and placing it down in front of everyone. The sound it made thunk cut through the leftover laughter like a blade. Emily blinked, confused. "What is that?" I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed, and smiled. "Why don't you find out?" She snatched the folder up and tore it open, already smirking like she'd won something. But then she saw the first page and just froze. Her face drained of all color. She turned the page. And the next. And then she screamed. I mean full-on screamed, the kind you hear in horror movies, the kind that chills your spine. Her chair toppled backward as she jumped to her feet and slammed the folder shut like it had burned her. "You monster," she shouted. "You sick, twisted freak." Gasps bounced around the table. Ethan, her husband, grabbed the folder and opened it himself. His jaw dropped. He turned to look at me. "Is this real?" he asked. I gave a small nod. "Every bit of it," I said. "Every single word. Every receipt. Every screenshot." The table went completely still. You could hear a fork drop in the kitchen. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it again like a fish flopping on dry land. "You all thought I wouldn't fight back," I said, slowly getting to my feet. "You were so sure I'd just stay quiet. Stay the doormat. The cash cow. But here's the thing," I leaned in, staring Emily straight in the eye. "Your little performance? It ends now. You're probably wondering what was in that folder. I'll get to that. But first, let me explain how we got here. Because Emily didn't just roll out of bed one morning and decide I wasn't family. That choice was built over time. Brick by brick. Comment by comment. Betrayal after betrayal. I was never their favorite, not by a long shot. Emily was the golden child. Straight A student, perfect smile, knew how to work any room she walked into. She could lie to someone's face and still have them thanking her afterward. Me? I was quiet. Kept to myself. Didn't crave attention. And they hated that about me. They took my silence as weakness. I moved out at 19. Paid for college on my own, juggling 2 jobs, never asked for help. Meanwhile, Emily dropped out of 2 majors, took off to find herself in Europe, and came back to marry Ethan, the human version of a LinkedIn profile stuffed into a blazer. As for the wedding, I footed half the bill. My parents couldn't afford it, though they somehow managed to take a 2-week cruise right after. I didn't say a word. Never did. Even when they joked about me being the family accountant, I kept helping. Paid for Dad's dental work. Covered the heating bill when Mom said it was overdue. Even pitched in on Grace's tuition when she lost out on a scholarship. They always said thank you, sure, but in that tone. The one that really meant, of course you helped. You don't have a family of your own. And maybe that was the real issue. See, I'm single. No kids. No spouse. No baggage. Just me, my job, and my dog. And to them, that meant I had nothing better to do than clean up their messes. Emily, in particular, treated me like her personal emergency fund. When Ethan got laid off, I was her first call. Just a little loan. When her car broke down. You make 6 figures, what's $2,000 to you? When her kid needed therapy and the insurance wouldn't cover it? Yeah. Guess who she called? And every time, I said yes. Because I believed that's what family did. But over time, helping turned into obligation. Then into expectation. Eventually, it became a demand. It started subtly, little jabs at family dinners. Oh, you brought the good wine? Must be nice to afford it. Of course you're early. No kids to deal with. I wish I could work late just to avoid my husband. Then the comments got meaner. You're so cold. Maybe that's why you're still alone. You don't know what real stress is. You don't have a real life. You're just bitter that no one actually needs you. But the truth was, they did need me. Constantly. Financially. Quietly. Always behind closed doors. Then came the text. Emily, hey, can you co-sign for a small business loan? Ethan and I want to open a wellness cafe. Me, no. Emily, wow. Really? I had texted back. Then came the silence. That was 3 months ago. Since then, I've got nothing but the cold shoulder. Mom stopped calling. Dad replied to my texts with one-word answers. No one even told me when the last family dinner was until I saw photos posted after the fact. Emily? She blocked me on social media the same day she posted a story about cutting out toxic people. Cute. But I didn't sit around sulking. No. I got to work. I started pulling receipts. Literal receipts. See, I keep records. Bank transfers. Emails. Screenshots. Dates. I'm not stupid. I've just been quiet. There's a difference. And when I went back through the last 5 years alone, I nearly dropped my phone. Over $78,000. That's how much I'd sent to various family members. $78,000. $8,000 for Ethan's rehab. $2,300 for Emily's emergency dental work, which, turns out, were veneers. $1,500 for Dad's back surgery. $12,000 to help Mom with unmanageable credit card debt. $6,000 for Grace's college move-in costs. $4,500 for a so-called family emergency that turned out to be a girls' trip to Cabo. And not once, not one single time, did any of them offer to pay me back. They just took. And the moment I stopped giving, I became the villain. So I made the folder. I printed everything. Every transfer confirmation. Every email asking for just a bit of help. Every text saying, I swear I'll pay you back next month. Screenshots of Emily calling me manipulative in a chat with her friend because I had said no to co-signing their loan. A full timeline of every major payment I'd made over the last 5 years. And as the cherry on top? Screenshots from Facebook and Instagram posts where they mocked me behind my back. Emily had called me a cash cow with no spine in a private comment thread. One she didn't know I had access to. So yeah. That's what she saw when she opened the folder. That's what made her scream. Because Emily wasn't just exposed. She was dismantled. Fact by fact. Line by line. Page by page. And while she came undone, the rest of the table started putting the pieces together. My mom looked ready to faint. Ethan stared at a highlighted line. $4,200 to cover Emily's credit card charges at a hotel in Santa Monica shared with someone named Chloe. He looked at me, stunned. What is this? I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't defending myself. I was just presenting the truth. You kept records, my mom finally asked, her voice thin and shaking. Of everything? I turned to her, calm as a lake. You never remembered, I said. So someone had to. Emily was still standing, her fists clenched so tightly her knuckles had gone white. Her eyes darted from Ethan to me to the folder and back again. This is a violation, she spat. You had no right. No right? I said, standing up slowly. You just stood in front of this whole family and declared me not family. And they clapped. I let the silence settle before continuing. And now you're upset that I came prepared? Ethan flipped another page. What's this about Santa Monica? He asked, his voice low and sharp. Emily's head snapped toward him. Don't start. Who's Chloe? He pushed. Why were you at a hotel for 3 nights on my credit card? She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her silence was louder than anything she could have said. Wait, my mom cut in, holding her hands up like a referee between rounds. Can we all just calm down and be reasonable? Sure, I said, turning to her. Let's be reasonable. Let's talk about the time you called me a parasite right before you cashed the check I sent you. Her face twitched. That's not fair, she muttered. We were under stress. No, I snapped. You were under stress. And I bailed you out. Every single time. And the one time I said no? Suddenly I'm the problem. My dad, who had been quiet the entire time, finally spoke. You're making this into something bigger than it is. I turned to him. And when I spoke, my voice dropped so low you could barely hear it. You let them do this to me for years. You knew. You saw it. You heard it. And you let it happen because it was easier than standing up to them. He didn't argue. He didn't deny it. He just looked away. Emily slammed her hand on the table, making the silverware jump. You're just bitter, she hissed. Because no one needs you anymore. Wrong, I said coldly. I'm not bitter. I'm done. She let out a laugh, sharp and humorless. You're pathetic, she said. Do you know how dramatic this all looks? Bringing a folder? Printing screenshots? You think this makes you the victim? You're just proving you're a control freak. And you're just proving, I said, that you only cared about me when I was paying your bills. You don't get to play the martyr, she snapped. You chose to help. You didn't have to. And yet somehow, I said, stepping closer, you always expected it. Every single time. Until it wasn't help anymore. It was obligation. And when I stopped, what did you do? You voted me out. My voice cracked, not from sadness. From rage. You didn't want a brother. You wanted a wallet with legs. Ethan stood now, still holding the folder. He looked down at the pages. Then at Emily. Is this true? He asked quietly. All of it? She looked at him. And for the first time ever, Emily had nothing to say. No fake tears. No spin. No clever retort. Just silence. You lied to me, Ethan said. About the hotel. About the money. About him. You made it sound like he was crazy. I had to, she exploded. He was turning everyone against me. I wasn't, I said. You did that all by yourself. The room fell silent again. Then Mom leaned forward one last time, her voice softer, rehearsed. Listen, honey, she said. We may have overreacted. But this is still family. And families fight. Let's just put this behind us. I shook my head slowly. You're not hearing me. She blinked. What? I'm not asking for peace. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm telling you, I'm done. Emily scoffed. Oh, stop acting like this is some grand declaration. You've said that before. I looked her dead in the eyes. Not like this. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out a second envelope. My dad sighed, his voice flat. What now? I tossed it on the table. Ethan caught it before it could slide off the edge. He opened it, read the first line, and his expression shifted. What is this? He asked quietly. I answered for him. Power of attorney. Revoked. Medical proxy. Revoked. Emergency contact? Removed. His eyes flicked up to me. My voice stayed steady. The papers are signed. As of today, I'm legally and emotionally no longer responsible for any of you. My mother gasped. You're cutting ties? Completely? Completely, I said. Starting now. Tears filled her eyes. You're being selfish. We made mistakes, but we're still your family. I turned toward her, calm and final. No. You're not. I grabbed my coat, gave them one last look, and walked out. I left them in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner, stunned, speechless, surrounded by cold food and colder truths. I didn't look back. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. But as I shut the door behind me, stepped off the porch, and into the cold November night, something shifted inside me. For the first time in years, I could breathe. I didn't go straight home. Instead, I pulled off near the lake Dad used to take me fishing at when I was little. I sat in silence, staring at the still, dark water. And for the first time in forever, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Nothing pulling at me. No guilt. No weight. No one expecting a favor, or a ride, or a check. Just stillness. The next morning? Silence. The day after that? Still quiet. But by day 3, the messages started. First, my mom. A missed call. Then another. Then a voicemail. You really meant it? We were angry, but we're still your family. I didn't respond. Then the texts rolled in. Emily. You don't even realize what you've done. Ethan's filing for divorce. Are you happy? Something is really wrong with you. Then Dad. You went too far. We all said things we regret. But what you did was nuclear. Your mother is a wreck. Come fix this. I didn't reply to any of them. And honestly, I thought I'd feel guilty. I thought I'd lie awake at night, wondering if I overreacted. But instead, I slept better than I had in years. No more second-guessing every ding on my phone. No more holding my breath waiting for the next favor dressed up as a crisis. No more late-night Venmo requests, no more guilt grenades. For the first time in a decade, I could actually hear myself think. I started waking up early. Going for runs. Brewing coffee slowly, not rushed between obligations. I scheduled appointments I'd put off for years: dentist, doctor, therapist. Not because I was broken, but because I was finally allowed to take care of myself. I rewrote my emergency contact list. Removed my parents. Changed my passwords. Froze every joint account they had access to. Blocked Emily on every platform. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about closure. A week after Thanksgiving, I got a message from Grace, my cousin who clapped when they voted me out. I didn't know you paid for my tuition. I'm sorry. I followed the crowd. You were always the one who helped. I didn't reply. But I read it. Twice. Then another surprise, Ethan. I filed the papers. Everything in that folder checked out. She cheated. Lied. Manipulated. Not just you, me too. He added. You did the right thing. I should have left sooner. I hadn't expected that. But it landed. A few days later, I did something I hadn't done in years. I applied for a job in another city. Not because I was running away, but because, for the first time, I was finally free. No more. You should stay close to home. No more. Who'll take care of them if you leave? I started reaching out to old friends. People I hadn't seen in years because I was always too busy putting out my family's fires. And the wildest part? Some of them had seen my post on Reddit. They reached out. Not to ask for anything. Not to guilt me. Not to spin it. Just to say, we're proud of you. That was brave. No strings. No drama. Just support, simple, honest, and clean. Someone asked me if I regretted it. I thought about it for a second. Then said, I only regret not doing it sooner. I thought that was the end. And in many ways, it was. But with people like them, endings are never clean. Especially when they start feeling the consequences of your absence. The first few weeks after Thanksgiving were beautifully, eerily quiet. No calls. No guilt. Just peace. Until Christmas. On December 22nd, I got a text from my mother.